Alright, hey, what's up guys? So this video is just going to show a few of the classes that I've ran over the last week where we used a constraint-led approach to learn and develop skills of the spider guard. I found this was super helpful. I haven't really taught much conventional spider guard in the gym previously. So it was quite cool to see how quick people actually developed their spider guard. One of the biggest issues that we see with the spider guard is just an inability to prevent the top player from removing the feet from the biceps. And I find that a big part of this is just not understanding, I guess, some of the important rules and concepts of the spider guard. Now, I have been looking into some of the work that Greg Souders has been doing, and right now I'm sort of like my stance on the whole ecological versus drilling thing. I definitely see that both have some sort of benefit. From my understanding, all the guys that were previously, all about the drilling life and then, switched up to the eco game, they say that if you're sort of sitting on the fence, it just means that you don't understand the full, the correct way of using the CLA, constraint-led approach. So this is probably the case with me. But again, where I'm at now is this mix of, using techniques and teaching drilling, more so as a way of, and mind you, when I say drilling, I mean no resistance drilling. I am still of the opinion that it is helpful for an introduction to a skill, especially if the skill is completely foreign and if the skill is just somewhat complex. So as an example, I feel like, say, a berimbolo or even something like a triangle choke, to the day one practitioner, they probably won't be able to successfully use it in a constraint-led approach, task-based game format if they've never done it before. So I do feel like there is merit in, I guess, a little bit of an introduction to a technique via the use of static drilling. But I do feel like once you can actually perform the movement, that there is very little use of drilling, and that is where you need to start to apply it in a live sparring scenario or format. And as well, obviously use of the constraint-led task-based games as well. The other thing I've noticed is that in order to, and this is something that I find quite interesting with the CLA, is that in order to properly employ it in a training session, you have to really understand the position. If you don't understand the position, then you can't determine what the invariants are. The invariants are like the non-negotiables, as Greg would say, and this for me makes a lot of sense. This sort of goes back to, I guess, really understanding the underlying, I guess, mechanics of the move, as well as the concepts or principles of the move. So as an example, to establish a guard pass, quite broadly speaking, that is, you need to create some sort of degree of separation of the knees from the chest. And then you need to establish some sort of chest-on-chest connection. Again, quite a broad, non-negotiable, but this is a good example. And so you kind of take the equivalence of rules like that or invariants like that, and you apply them to all the respective positions. So in this video, what we noticed was with the spider guard, the invariance was if the bottom player can stay, not necessarily facing, but if the bottom player can keep the top player in between their knees, they can maintain their feet on the biceps, then it's very hard for the top player to pass. Within that as well, we had little goals such as the bottom player needs to keep the nearest leg as the bottom leg, and that leg needs to be extended, and the furthest leg needs to be the top leg, and it needs to be bent. And just going off that rule, just going off of that rule, we noticed that it was significantly harder for the top player to pass the guard, okay, pass the spider guard, or remove the feet from the biceps. So, yeah, anyways, I'm blabbing a bit, but hope you guys enjoy the video. All right, we're going to be starting a block on some spider guard stuff. Basically, with the spider guard, I feel like it's a position that is quite poorly understood. So hopefully we can figure out the spider guard a bit better by the time we get through this block. Alex, can I borrow you for the demo? All right, so what we're just going to look at is, and this is probably the most important thing when it comes to the spider guard, is your leg configuration as well as your hip orientation. So firstly, when we make our sleeve grips, we're using pocket grips. If you don't know what a pocket grip is, it's literally where I take my partner's sleeve and I'm basically making like a little pocket at the end of his sleeve here for my fingers to hook in through. So what makes a strong sleeve grip is basically how tightly you can clench your fist. Okay, if you can fully clench your fist, you're probably going to have a strong grip. I will sometimes turn my palms out as well, okay? Now, depending on the leg configuration I have, sometimes it's a bit harder for me to turn my palms out, and I will be going with more of like a pronated grip as opposed to a supinated grip. Anyway, when we play spider guard, the conventional spider guard is where we have 2 feet on biceps, okay? When I say biceps, what I'm looking for is the blade of my foot to lock in where the elbow bends, okay? So now feet on biceps here, my arms are always going to sit outside my legs. And what we're going to look at is just always putting ourselves in a position where one leg is straightened and one leg is bent. Now, you can't just straighten any leg. If I straighten the top leg as an example, what this means now is that my partner can start flanking this leg and he can start throwing my leg across my body. This is very bad for me. So what we always want to make sure we do is we take a bend in the top leg and we straighten the bottom leg. Now, as my partner tries to flank this bottom leg here, I can change sides. See how now it's very hard for him to throw this leg. If he tries to throw the bent leg, as an example here, my leg won't move as much, especially when it's flared and I'm hammering down. Now again, he goes to flank the other leg and I'm swapping sides. Okay, you can also kind of curl your toes over your partner's biceps to kind of like clamp onto their bicep as well. So just for the opening drill, we're just going to be focusing on not letting our partner flank the straightened leg and turn that straightened leg into the top leg, if that makes sense. So we don't want our partner to flank this top leg here while it's straightened. We're always going to be looking at bending that leg as they try and move towards that leg. So to put it simply, bottom leg is straight, top leg is bent. When they try and change sides, bottom leg is straight, top leg is bent. Okay? So I just want you guys to start off in your spider guard and you're just going to be swapping sides as your partner tries to flank the straightened leg. Now for the person on top, I just want you guys to make sure that you're not just randomly walking to a leg. I want you to try and walk towards the straightened leg and get outside the straightened leg. Now, obviously, if I stay here, see how now that straightened leg, it's not so low anymore. It's now starting to move higher and higher up. As he starts walking more towards that side, see how now my straightened leg is very high? Now he can start to throw my leg across. Okay? So again, person on top, always try and walk towards the straightened leg. Person on bottom, you're going to be swapping to the other side. Does that make sense so far? It's really important that we understand this, otherwise it's very easy for us to get our spider guard passed. Another thing as well, I don't want to see you guys playing with 2 straightened legs, okay, because if I straighten both of the legs, now if Alex just adjusts his grip so they're more so behind my calves, now he can just start throwing my feet over my head. Okay, he can start to stack me here like this. Okay, so make sure, again, one leg is bent, one leg is straightened. All right, so as you guys probably noticed, the main idea we're working with is not having a top leg straightened, okay, or the near side leg straightened in relation to the guard passer. And obviously, the other leg, whichever leg is not straightened, that leg needs to be bent. Okay, so we always work with this like bow and arrow like leg configuration where one leg is straightened, again, usually the bottom leg, and then the top leg is going to be bent. Okay, and that top leg is also happening to be the leg that's the far side leg. It's furthest away from our opponent. Now, for the first game, what we looked at was a game where the top player is just purely focusing on trying to create leg positioning for the partner. The bottom, where the guard player's legs are forced into a spot where the near side top leg is straightened, the far side bottom leg is bent. Okay, which is going to allow the top player to start working throw bars. Now, we're obviously not accounting for, say, stomp grip breaks, or the deadlift posture, or any sort of mechanic where there is an obstruction behind either the knee, calf, or sometimes even foot of the spider guard. But just so the task isn't too complex, we're just working with the throw by mechanic, because what this is going to teach the bottom player is essentially, obviously, one, how to position the legs, but also how they should angle their hips in relation to the passer. Okay, when you're playing spider guard, you always want to make sure that you're not flat on your back in front of your partner. You always want to be cutting an angle like on your side, kind of similar to how you would see the bottom player use like a sideline position when they're playing, say, a niche. So, putting this in terms of, I guess, the CLA, constraint-led approach. So, what we're doing is constraints that we're applying is the top player cannot break grips. The top player cannot use any sort of stomping grip breaks, whether he's stomping on the bicep or the knee, and he also can't use his knees to try and separate the foot off the bicep by putting pressure on either the knee, calf, or foot. The top player is solely confined to flanking his partner's legs. Okay, so he's trying to get outside the legs, and in the process, he's trying to create a position where the near side leg is the straightened leg, okay, and the top leg, okay, and the far side leg is the bent leg, and it also happens to be the bottom leg. Then for the person on bottom, they're not focusing on breaking grips. They're just focusing on always keeping their opponent somewhat between their knees, as well as not letting the top player force their top leg to become straightened. Okay, so we have to stick with this like bow and arrow leg configuration, or for those of you who have watched the guard retention anthology, we also have been referring to this as like a leg dab position. Okay, so again, your top leg is going to be your bent leg, and that leg is going to be furthest from your partner. Your bottom leg is going to be the straightened leg that will be closest to your partner. So just paying attention here, this is stuff that is very important to actually make this game effective. Stuff for both the top and bottom players to be wary of. So if I start going really close to my partner like this, it's very hard for my partner to change sides. Okay, in theory now it's really easy for me to throw my partner's leg across because I'm really crowding it. I should let it go. a bit awkward. But in reality, I'm rolling with money. And I get this close to him, he's going to start sweeping my leg and attach it to my lower body. Now, in the context of spider guard, hopefully he keeps the foot on bicep and sleeve good. It's a nice hybrid guard engine. But the point is, if I get this close, I'm actually exposing my center of mass. And if I keep walking, like if I really start bringing my hips under, I'm basically just getting him the next guy. So we're assuming that the top player is aware of this. We're assuming that the top player doesn't want to get put in extra. Okay, so they're going to be keeping a bit of distance. Okay, obviously you don't have to go super far away. You can if you want to. But you just want to be close enough to your partner that you can start to turn their hip, but also not so close that you're putting yourself in the leg attack. Okay. Now, the other thing as well, I'm seeing some people not holding onto the pancreas. This is quite important for the for both the top and bottom player for this drill. I want you to hold onto the pancreas as we're changing steps. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, make sure that the top player is not completely crowding the hips. Because now when Ronnie tries to change sides, it's quite awkward. So if I'm just changing sides like this and crowding his hips, yes, it's technically easier for me to throw, but in a live sparring scenario, he can get his moment. All right. Let's do one more round. What's going to happen now is for the person on bottom, whichever leg is the bent leg, this should be the leg that's lowest. Okay, say this is the highest, this is the higher leg than the straightened leg. And it should also be furthest away from my feet. Okay, say my feet are very far away from this top leg. Whichever leg is this bent leg, this is the leg that's going to start stripping grips. Now, how we strip the grips, we're going to be taking the foot off the bicep, which may seem counterintuitive, but this is part of stripping the grips here. So what's going to happen if we come back? Once he takes the foot off the bicep, he's going to be kicking his leg outwards as he starts pulling my hand or my sleeve up towards his shoulder and ear, like this. Straight away, he's going to bring the foot back inside the bicep, and he's going to cut to the other side. And and keep it like on the bicep. There's a split moment here where once he's broken the grip, this hand doesn't actually have a pan grip. And what is very important to note when you're passing spider guard is, for the most part, you pretty much always want to have your hands occupied with pan grips. Okay, so the moment I lose that grip, I don't have a connection to his legs. It's actually a lot harder for me to defend sweeps and submissions here. Now, when he changes to the other side, now this is the bent leg. My feet are very far away from this leg. Now he's going to take the foot off the bicep. He's going to strip the grip, and he's going to square back up to the other side. Okay, so I want you guys to add this in now. All right, let's go. 2, 3. Now, a few other things to be wary of. So with the top player, at any point in time, if you catch your partner straightening both of their knees, punish them for it. Okay, how you punish your partner for this? Let's say my partner's straightening both the knees. I'm just going to throw my hips forward, and I'm just going to start lifting his feet. Actually, you can keep my sleeves as well, but I'm just going to go here. In reality, I go to a stack. Sometimes you can also start dragging across as well. Okay, so anytime both knees straighten, plus the other thing is, like, this doesn't look like what looks forward, like starting out like this or like this. We all know the answer. Anyway, so if both legs are straight, let's stack. Or we can even go on something like a drag as well. Anyway, so just be wary of this. Now we're going to look at giving the top player another way of clearing the feet off the biceps. What I'm going to start to do is I want to start walking backwards. Okay, no deadlifting for this one. Okay, because if I deadlift, I just change the game completely. If I just deadlift, now Ronnie can just grab one of my legs and have been delegated with that. So I haven't really solved the issue. I've just given myself another issue. Anyway, so I'm going to start walking back like this. And now from here, if I keep walking back, I can actually start dropping his feet to the floor. now coming back again. You can also combine this with this idea of like spinning your partner into like a bullfighter pass. So I go here, now that his shoulders are off the floor, see I can start to spin him. Okay, as I start to sit him up, I'm clearing his feet, and I can start getting outside his legs. Okay. So now let's swap over. Again, the spider guard, it's all about angles. If I'm just front on with my partner, or he starts walking backwards, like this, eventually he keeps walking backwards, my feet come to the floor. So what I do to deal with this is as he starts sitting me up, shoulders come off the floor, I just create this angle. Okay, now if he tries to straighten my top, make my straightened leg the top leg, he's changing sides. Okay, if he starts walking backwards, I can start following. Does that make sense so far? So it's very easy for me to follow him if I just think of cutting angles. Never want to be here when I'm playing spider guard. I'm always trying to go on a side. Okay, this is assuming I'm playing with 2 feet on the biceps. We clear so far? So just going over the rules again. When I play spider guard, I'm always cutting angles. I never want my top leg to be the straight leg. Okay, the leg that's highest, it can't be straight. That has to become bent. Okay. Now the other thing as well is if my partner starts sitting me up, I need to follow him. I don't want to be in this flat, front top position. We always play on our side with spider guard, almost like we're playing a knee shield position, okay, or reverse delahima position. We're always on our side. If I play reverse delahima knee shield, I don't play with my back flat on the floor. I'm on my side. Okay. Same sort of idea with our spider guard. And obviously, don't play with both legs straight because it just doesn't look cool, and you can get stuck. Okay, so we're always cutting these angles. All right. Person on top. Your ways of beating the spider guard, go back down. The ways of beating the spider guard so far is flanking, getting outside the leg, making the straightened leg top leg, and you can throw the leg across. Or you can take the feet off the biceps by sitting your partner up, getting their feet to the floor, or spinning. Like this. Now, going back to that note on the angles, if you can keep your partner in this position where they can't create that like sideways angle, if you can keep them front on, down concepts staying front on with my partner, this also makes it much harder for them to create those angles we were talking about before. Now, because he's front on, it's really easy for me now to start flanking and throwing the leg. Okay? So another thing to think about as well. We're going to go back to that game that we were just playing. While the person on top is now going to try and sit the person up. All right, and you have to keep your spider guard for them. So, 2, 3. In terms of offense, because right now we've literally just covered like basic fundamentals of just keeping spider guard and a bit of grip fighting, which is super important because if you don't know this stuff, then you're just getting passed most of the time. You can't work your attacks. Anyway, so when your partner is standing, there's basically just 2 main attacks when your partner is standing. Now, the main one that I want you guys to focus on, okay, is not going to be the upper body submissions. Upper body submissions are actually going to be more of like a secondary thing. Anyway, so what's going to happen is as we're moving around, changing sides, I'm defending Ronnie, cutting those angles, I'm defending him, walking backwards and sitting me up, and I'm stripping my grips here. What I'm going to be looking at doing is finding the inside space between his legs. And my goal here is to get my foot either on the floor or to even make a hook underneath his legs here like this, between his legs. The whole idea is I'm going to be using this leg positioning to bring my partner's weight over the top of me. We're assuming our partner's weight is somewhat in their hips. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bring the weight of my partner's hips over my torso. If I successfully do this, I can now start to get underneath my partner. I can now start entangling my partner's legs. When you get to someone's legs with spider guard, it's actually a very strong position because of the fact that you have the foot on the bicep. You can keep the double sleeves here, or you can start wrapping up your partner's foot. Again, the foot on bicep makes it quite awkward for the partner to base. Usually in a conventional X guard, as I start bumping my partner forward, you can use both of his hands. When I have the foot on bicep and I take him to the side with my X guard, now it's a lot harder for him to use his second hand to base. Okay, so I can really put my partner off balance here. So again, to sum it up, when you're playing spider guard, and again, defensive and all the other main positional control stuff aside, one of your primary goals is to start accessing this inside space. Once I access this inside space, I can bring my partner forwards here. Now again, you don't just have X-guard entries, we can also work some really cool overhead sweeps as well. Now the secondary thing is attacking your partner's upper body. All of the time when you start trying to hunt for this inside space, your partner starts bringing their weight even further back because they know that you're going to try and enter their lower body. What this means usually though is our partner starts exposing their upper body because their elbow starts moving away from their knee. So if I ever notice this, I can now start to focus on attacking my partner's upper body. For the most part, all the upper body attacks rely on the same goal, which is getting my knee behind my partner's tricep. If I get my knee behind my partner's tricep, it's a lot easier for me to attack an armbar, a normal plata, or a triangle. Okay, so all I'm looking for is just being able to create separation here, and I just need my knee to sit here like this. Once my knee sits here, now I've got a plata, a triangle. We also have different armbar variations as well. Okay, or another way of thinking of it is once your knee goes behind your partner's tricep, you're trying to connect your groin to their shoulder. Okay. So in this last game, the top player is doing the same thing as before. He's trying to flank the top leg and make it straight. Or he's trying to sit me up, he's trying to keep me square. He doesn't want me to cut angles. Okay, if I'm cutting angles, I'm safe. If I'm square, I'm not going to be safe. My goal is, again, cutting angles, keeping one leg bent, one leg straight. And I'm not going to play like this, because now running will just throw my top leg. I have to be ready to swap sides as necessary. I'm stripping grips, and then now offensively, I'm looking at getting inside position to bring his weight over me. Or if he's really making this difficult, I want to get my knee behind his tricep to start attacking his upper body. Does that make sense so far? All right, let's do one more round each, then we'll go to open up. Okay. Great. Good, Lucas. Let's break some grips here. Yeah, good. Nice.